welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is doing well out there in the old interweb, and I hope everybody is having a good day when they see this. So as always, like, subscribe, hit the Patreon page. Let's get a community of like-minded music lovers going. Let's get a conversation started. Welcome back. So today I wanted to talk about the Disney Plus documentary about the Beatles called Get Back. Now, if you haven't seen this premiered Thanksgiving Day of 2021, which was just a couple of days ago as of filming this, and it is directed by Peter Jackson, featuring footage from the band working on what became the Let It Be album, which is what I've got playing in the background. Not one of my favorite Beatle albums. I think it's got some great cuts on it. Me personally, I'm kind of the White Album, Revolver, Rubber Soul, Abbey Road, and then maybe Let It Be would be a top 5 if I was going to say that. But if you don't know about this series, it was announced that they had found over so many hours of unreleased footage of the band working on the Let It Be album, which is very interesting because we don't have any footage of them in the studio actually writing, working together. Now, when you start talking about the Beatles, you're talking about iconic, almost like rock and roll deities, if you will. Not that I'm saying that people worship them, but as far as rock legends goes, there are few bands that can stack up to these guys. But on the other hand, you also have an interesting conversation when you talk about the Beatles, because it's really split like 50-50, where people either love or hate them. There's very little gray area when you talk Beatles with people. And I find that interesting throughout musical conversations that I have. It's like a gauge when you start talking to people like, oh, I like this and this and this. Oh, okay, cool. How do you feel about the Beatles? I hate them or I love them. And it's very interesting that it's not like, oh, well, I like a couple of songs or this and that or whatever. And then everybody has their favorite. For me, it's hard to pick. Like, I love some of the Harrison stuff. John was a very enigmatic, strong personality. Paul, Ringo, like they all fit. And if you take one of them away, the band doesn't work. There's a heavy discussion, that people have about Ringo's drumming, but if you take him out of the equation, they don't sound the same. And some of the drummers that I've jammed with, when you try to work up a Beatles song, it's like, oh, it doesn't sound right. Well, it doesn't sound right because you can't play it like Ringo, and Ringo just did things different. And we'll get into some of that when I talk about this. So yeah, so this premiered Thanksgiving Day 2021. It's 3 episodes. Now, each episode is 2+ hours. I think the second episode was almost 3. The first one was like 2.5, and the third one was like 2.5-ish. So you're talking like almost 7 hours worth of footage involving the band. Now, that is one of my biggest criticisms, I would say, after watching, say, The Last Dance that ESPN did about the 98 Bulls. They broke that up into 10 episodes, 9-10 episodes. They were about an hour, so that was cool. This, I think, could have got that treatment. I don't know if it would have broken up any kind of continuity with it, but I feel like maybe it should have been 5 episodes or 4 episodes. I don't know. It could have been broken up a little bit. The only reason I say that is if you're a non-musical person, there are times when Paul and John and George are just kind of working out chord progressions where it's, go to an E or an A or an F. And some of that was kind of, it's cool to see them work, but some of it was kind of drawn out. Like, okay, they're just trying to write these, and yeah. So that was one criticism that I had of it. Not that it's major, and not that my opinion really matters. It's just an observation that they probably could have cut the episodes down just a hair. The other thing that I thought was really, really interesting was in the first episode, you can see the cracks showing. There's a lot of discussion about what broke the Beatles up. And after you watch this, you may understand that I think creatively they had not hit the end of their rope, but they had hit the end of their relationships. And I think to me, the feeling by the end of it was, I think just doing the studio work had drained them a little bit, their energy, their creativity. And I think just being Beatles weighed on them. And the reason I say that is everyone around them treats them with this reverence. And I'm not saying they don't deserve it. Now, don't take it that way. But they treat them with this reverence where it's like, well, you guys are the Beatles. You guys are the Beatles. Like being a Beatle was a thing. Like, you're the president, or you're the queen, or you're this. You're a Beatle. And them guys, like John, Paul, George, Ringo, they were just kind of like, we're just a band. And I think the thing that John missed the most once you watch this is being a band. And part of the reason I say that is in the third episode where they're actually planning the legendary rooftop concert. Paul is has trepidations about playing live for some reason, and I don't really. He doesn't really elaborate on it. He just kind of makes a statement, well, we've gotten a little shy, but they haven't done that. They haven't played live in like 3 or 4 years by the time of this. And I think John just wanted to be a band. I think John wanted to be a band, and I think he just wanted to go out and play and get that energy, because he states a couple of times their best work is when their back is against the wall. So that's my thing on that. George, I think his thing about playing live, he was like, if y'all want to do it, I'll do it. He didn't really want to do it. I think George was in a phase where he was trying to find his voice. And Ringo, throughout this whole thing, Ringo's just kind of there, man. And he's the one that catches some of the shit. Like they tell him, play this. Ringo just kind of looks at him, okay, whatever. So Ringo was kind of interesting in this whole thing. George, in the second episode, gets kind of frustrated and quits, which is interesting. And then the other thing that I observed when we're talking about the breakup specifically is Yoko Ono. Yoko is, I think John and Yoko just really loved each other. I think they enjoyed each other's company as much as everybody hates Yoko Ono. I personally obviously don't know her, so I can't hate on her. I don't believe she broke the band up, and after watching this, I don't think she broke the band up. She is by John's side 100%. He moves to the piano. She goes to the piano. He sits on the floor. She sits on the floor. Wherever he is, she is. And the interesting thing is she doesn't say a word. Now, there is an instance where they have a band meeting on like a weekend where it's not filmed, but they say they have a band meeting, and Yoko spoke for John, and that seemed to aggravate Paul a little bit. So maybe that had a little to do with it, but I don't really feel like she didn't really put input in during this. As far as like, y'all should do this or lyrics or whatever. She's just kind of chilling, kissing on John. They have moments where they dance with each other. She's just there, which is cool. The other girlfriends, wives, whatever you want to call them, they come in and out, but Yoko's there. Like, Yoko is very present with John, and that's cool. Going on. The rooftop concert, when they finally get to it at the end of the third episode, or toward the end of the third episode, we've all seen that legendary rooftop show on top of Apple. This was very, very interesting. I personally didn't know that they had 10 cameras on them. I didn't know the background of it. I thought it was something that they just kind of planned and did. I didn't know the drama leading up to it. I didn't know they played those songs multiple times. And it even tells you in the documentary that a couple of those performances from the rooftop ended up on the Let It Be album, which I didn't know. So this was an eye-opening educational thing about them. And then at the end, it was interesting as far as songwriting. It's interesting that they struggled with Let It Be so much. That watching Paul pull it out of thin air, that was the most impressive thing I think I took away from this docuseries, was them just sitting around and say, hey, I got this, and then pulling those songs that we all know that are legendary now out of thin air. Like Get Back, I Got a Feeling, Let It Be. Those guys are just kind of chilling, hanging out, and all of a sudden somebody says, well, I got this riff, or I got this, or I got this little bit. They call them bits. And they just pull it out of the ether, which was amazing to watch. If you've ever sat down and tried to write a song, the struggle that you can go through is amazing. And it was humanizing to see these guys go through it. But because they're the Beatles, right? It's legendary shit. But to watch Paul and George are just kind of standing at a piano and nobody's paying attention. Everyone's having their own conversations, and Paul just starts playing, and George is like, what is that? And he's like, I don't know. I just kind of come up with it. And it's Let It Be. It's clearly the intro to Let It Be, and you're like, damn, he just pulled that out of the air. He just pulled it out of the thin air. And same thing would kind of Get Back, and I Got a Feeling. So, in closing, like I said, my only con to this or thing I didn't really like was the length of it per episode. It can get a little dragging, a little boring, but you have to take it with the reverence for what it is, because obviously George and John are gone. John's been gone since before I was born, so that's a thing. And who knows if they would have ever gotten back together. I think once you watch them when they're not tired or have had a little drink, and you watch them play as a band when they kind of ignore everybody else in the room, you could tell these guys really, they grew up together, and you could tell they really, really enjoyed playing with each other. So I think if they would have lived, they may have done something. I don't know. I would like to think that they would have. I would have sold a kidney probably to see it, but that's just me. So there you go. Get Back on Disney Plus. If you have Disney Plus, take the time to sit down and watch it. It tells you in the beginning there's some smoking, there's some language. So it is a band just hanging out. It's so good to see the footage of all those guys together and see them play. It's very interesting. So there you go. I liked it. I don't know. It may be a while before I rewatch it just because of the length of it, but I think I do want to sit down because I had to break it up over the holiday because travel and whatnot that you do around Thanksgiving when you're with your loved ones. I would like to knock them out in a setting. I did the third episode was one setting, but there you go. So remember to stay safe and keep rocking, and remember that music is love and love is music. Until next time, everybody, we'll see you.